Let's go.
What a lovely day!
Andy, there's a whole world out there. Jump in.
Can you dig it?
Yeah.
You must always pay strict attention.
I was just completely enamored by it the entire time.
Dude, he did not have to go that hard.
I know, man. Isn't it wild?
The Jared Cast.
So it begins.
Welcome, chefs, to episode 101, right? Is this 101? This is 101.
I think so, yeah.
The Jared Cast. The first episode of season 2 of the Jared Cast.
Long seasons. Long seasons.
In this episode, we are discussing The Bear season 2 with myself, Jared Ancanan, my co-host, co-producer, Jared Lombardo, and special returning guest, Renato Paniagua Jr.
Nice, dude. Honestly, I like that a lot. I usually people forget the junior part, but I always like to remind people that I am my dad's Batman Begins. I'm the Dark Knight. I am the superior film. Okay, so thank you for that.
You're the
It's a pleasure to be
superior
back.
ripoff of Michael Mann.
Yep,
no, I'm just kidding.
100%.
Love the Dark Knight, still top 5 superhero. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna talk about The Bear. We're very excited because Jared and I discussed it when season 1 came out. This was a show that he and my brother kept pushing me to watch, and I was like, all right, fine.
And every other person on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it ended up being like my number 7 of the year last year. So, of the year for TV last year. And I watched a lot of TV last year. So, this was definitely a highly anticipated follow up. But yeah. Before that, we're going to do something a little more fun. We're going to talk about our favorites of the year so far. We did this last year with Renato, and we're going to do it again at the midpoint of 2023. And we'll just go around and talk about and give our top 5s real quick. But yeah, sweet. Renato, you want to kick us off with your number 5 for 2023?
For sure, and I just want to say that, like, I think mine, I didn't see much shit this year so far, so I'm gonna put it out there right now that it's probably gonna be some of the most predictable stuff. But regardless of that, they do hold a lot of, at least for me, a lot of quality and enjoyment. But for my number 5, I'm gonna go with Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I think that movie, at least for me, being able to watch some of the Marvel, like this phase Marvel movies, like, I know they haven't been like the most popular or like the ones that have really hit audiences like the previous films, and that's for like a plethora of reasons. But I think having James Gunn return and kind of cover this final chapter supposedly of the Guardians, like, it was very emotional, and I think I would call it one of the heavier Marvel films. Just like on the subject matter, especially when it comes to Rocket. But overall, it was like a super, super cool experience. I got to see it with my brother in a marathon. So it was just like I think it was just overall like a really well made movie, and James Gunn like rarely disappoints. So yeah.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Have not seen it.
I
won't see it.
I have. It barely missed my 5, but yeah, it's. I saw it twice and I cried both times. I think it's really special. I think it's especially the stuff pertaining to Rocket. I think was just so emotionally satisfying and so brilliant on the part of Gunn. And it makes me excited for whatever he's got cooking for whatchamacallit, for DC.
DC, yeah.
Yeah. Jared, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is already kind of shisty in terms of what we're doing here, because I don't think it's the 5th best thing to come out this year, but nobody's talking about it that I've been at least that I've seen, and it's real schlocky, but man, I was so excited every week for it to come out. Starting off with TV show, and that's MGM Plus's From.
Ooh.
Okay.
It feels a lot like Lost, where it's like they're just dropping mysteries on you, and it feels like they have no idea how to connect them. But it gripped me, man. It's like just tacky enough to like keep me going. The cast is great. I like a lot of the things they're doing. There's some good scares. There's some really bad scares that like get a great laugh out of you. But overall, like, I don't know. It's just fun to watch the mystery unravel. It's probably going to be a victim of the writer strike and, like, get dropped. But the first two seasons, especially season 2 this year, were fucking great, man. I had a great time watching them.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I have not seen anything for it. I saw the poster a couple times and it's been recommended in my algorithm, but I just
Yeah.
didn't even know. I don't know anything about it.
It's great. It's great. It's about a group of people who get stuck in a town that they can't leave, and things hunt them. is where I'll start. But it's great. The monsters are fantastic, and the horror's fun. It's just a fun show. It's tacky as hell, but it's a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
Cool, man. Cool, man.
My number 5 is Asteroid City, written and directed by the very popular at this point Wes Anderson. It's kind of interesting that he kind of gets like pushed into like art house, even though he's made comedies his entire career.
Yeah.
But this is a really special sci-fi movie. It's a play within radio show within a movie. So it's very, very interesting and very, very cool the way it's structured, and every single performance is on point as per usual for a Wes Anderson film. But in particular, Scarlett Johansson, who I thought, and Tom Hanks, who haven't done a Wes Anderson movie yet, and they fit in perfectly. Like they were just born to play those roles that they played. And also, I think the scenes between Jason Schwartzman and Scarlett Johansson are the best in the film. And there's just some really fantastic visuals, almost no CGI, which was it gave it a very interesting look for a sci-fi. And yeah, I definitely recommend it if you're a fan of his earlier stuff. I put it over Grand Budapest. I think it's his best since Fantastic Mr. Fox. I think, yeah.
Shoot, I'm watching that next week, so I have to. I don't know. I'm gonna remember that one because Budapest is like my favorite one.
Oh,
so.
It's very, very good. They're both very, very good.
Yeah.
For sure. I haven't seen it, so I it just looks very different. Like in terms of like concept wise, it definitely has more of that like older Wes Anderson feel. I kind of almost gives it like a super whimsical one. But I think that's just like in a way what Anderson's kind of like style in general. But I honestly cannot wait to watch that one. That one's probably like my most anticipated one, besides like Oppenheimer and Barbie, of course.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I'm with Jared. I don't know if it beats Budapest for me, but it's up there for his movies. A lot of it did not make sense to me, and I'm gonna need a rewatch. But everything was great. The design of the little guy fucking made me roar with laughter. I was dying, dude. It was like one of my biggest laughs of the year. Easy. Yeah, it was great. It's a lot of fun. Performances were fantastic. The set design is like maybe my favorite of any Wes Anderson movie. Yeah, great pick.
Excellent. Number 4.
Alrighty, I probably should have started off with this one, considering that I had such a boring list. But
It's yours. It's your
I'm
thing.
just
Don't-
gonna. I'm
don't
just.
roast
It's
it.
just the every single time I look at it, I'm like, oh,
Stand by
jeez. I know. I am. I'm just gonna just put it out there because, like, again, skim pickings, but the bear. I think that one's like I will obviously go in depth with like why I like the bear more, but just to give it like a little brief overview, but just in terms of making me feel certain things, being able to convey an equal amount of intensity and softness, I think is something that I enjoy from this show. And it's just one of those shows, at least for me, and it's always sounds melodramatic and kind of cheesy when it comes out of people who really like this sort of stuff. But I can't help it. But it's one of those things that really kind of propel you into trying to do the best you can with what you got, trying to keep on doing what you're doing, whether you owe it to somebody or if you love it. And I just like I look forward to like the next season if there's gonna be one, or if if it's gonna be the same quality. But in terms of it all, like it's really got me hooked, and so I just feel like it's been a show that kind of came out of nowhere for me, and I really like enjoyed sinking my teeth into it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I got some thoughts, but you'll hear them.
Yeah, there you go. I can't wait to hear them.
But it is great. I do that. My number 4 is another TV. It's the last show on my list. And I was hoping somebody would mention Asteroid City because it was going to go here, but now I don't have to talk about it. So thank you, Jared. This was another show that I think hasn't been getting enough shine this year, and that's Apple TV's The Big Door Prize. The Chris O'Dowd led.
You're the only one who watched it.
Yeah, it's just a goofy comedy, but it's great, dude. It's got a lot of heart. It's funny as hell. The cast is great, especially Chris O'Dowd, Sammy Forlas, and Julia Amara. All fantastic. It was better than the book, and that's rare. There's only like 4 movies or shows that I've been able to say that about, and this is one of them. It's just fun. It's just a great time.
Very cool. Very cool. I did see a trailer for it. I feel like the trailer gave away too much, so I need to give some time so I can forget it and then watch it. But
It
I
kind
did.
of does, for sure. But like, still
There's
worth
a
a
lot.
watch.
Hell yeah. Cool. Yeah, I love Chris O'Dowd. Been in love with the guy since Bridesmaids. My number 3 is Scream 6. Holy shit. Best opening sequence in a Scream movie since the first one. Fantastic cameos, fantastic guest stars in the franchise. Bringing back Courtney Cox in a really awesome way. She gets a really great scene, maybe Gale Weathers' best scene in the entire franchise. And yeah, man, I'm really really in love with the Carpenter sisters, man. They're so cool as protagonists for this franchise, especially because of their connection to the old legacy characters, and also because like it gets crazy, and I cannot wait to see how crazy they get for the next film, because there probably is going to be a next one, considering how successful this one was critically and commercially. And I also love the change in setting. I think taking it out of a small town setting and putting it in New York City just makes it so much more diabolical and so much more insane. There's one particular set piece between 2 apartment buildings, or between 2 apartments, that just like is so. I was, even as a seasoned slasher movie fan, I was like palms sweating, knees weak. Yeah, it was great. It was really really awesome. Shout out Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega, especially.
Heck yeah, man! I'm actually like a big fan of the soft, I guess the soft reboot, sort of the one that came before this one.
I think they called them sequel boots, or in the movie.
Sequel boots. Okay, well, it's a sequel boot. I really like it.
Oh, I
I
forget
kind of
what they
like
call
the
it.
well, like I kind of like the direction they were going, and I think that like I haven't seen Scream 6 yet, but like just the way like I even without watching, I agree that I think the change of pace was better. Getting it out of Woodsboro finally like was a necessary kind of direction to go into, especially if they're like changing the dynamic, right? Like as you mentioned, like keeping in like the themes of like the older like the older cast and whatnot. I'm not sure if Jared's seen it, but there is well, there's like nice little tie-ins with some previous characters that was like very interesting. So I'm kind of interested to see where they go in Scream 6.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's one of the movies that I really regret not seeing in theaters, and I just haven't
Same.
squeezed it in yet.
Go for it.
All right, cool. My number 3. Um, I'm gonna go with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Very cool.
I have that one fresh on the mind. I think that it looks gorgeous. It's one of the most like it's one of the few films that like I go in watching going like holy crap, there's like so much. This really looks like it took a lot of like an insane amount of effort. That's like and for the most part I really enjoy the dynamic, especially like the personal ones like with Miles and his family in particular. It's very moving and relatable, as like Spider-Man in my opinion should be. I do have some qualms with it, but for the most part it was a very enjoyable experience, and I look forward to the next one. But yeah, I won't say much about it.
Yeah.
It hit my expectations. I don't think it's as good as the first, but I think the animation in it is like some of the most beautiful I've ever seen in any movie. Like just the variation, the execution, everything was just like
Yeah.
insanely good. I loved it. I had a great time with it, even though I went in dry.
Nice.
Yeah. I especially feel that way about Gwen's universe with the
Mm.
paintings and stuff. So good. And the only reason it's lower on mine is because I gotta wait 10 months before I know if it's a good story or not.
True,
Yeah,
true.
that's and to be honest with you, like that's like a personal call of mine. I'm like, well, I can't. I feel like personally, like when like the movie ended, that's how I kind of felt. Where I was like, I can't really feel. I feel like I'm not giving this movie a fair shake because it's not like
Yeah.
resolved yet.
On
Yeah,
the other hand, like in retrospect, Two Towers is is like a lot of people's favorite Lord of the Rings, and Empire is a lot of people's favorite Star Wars. Imagine being a fan of Star Wars and watching Empire, and then just nobody knows what's gonna happen next, and then you gotta
yeah,
wait 3 years. You gotta wait 3 years for Episode 6 or for
yeah,
Return of the Jedi. That's insane. So I'm sure our positive feelings will be validated once we see it in context of part 3.
Yeah.
for sure.
I do
for
think
sure.
it's the most hilarious person to make the villain for the sequel, though. Like, so good.
Once again, shout out Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
real.
Number 3, Jared.
My number 3 is a very annoying one because it's not out on streaming and it hasn't been picked up anywhere yet. So keep an eye out. Look for news. I think it's definitely worth watching if you get the chance. My only foreign film on the list so far, and that's Las Hijas from Panama. So good. One of my favorite coming of age stories I've seen in a very long time. So much heart, beautiful cinematography, great performances across the board, amazing soundtrack of songs from Panama that I'd never been introduced to before. It follows two sisters traveling to try to meet their estranged father and ask him for money, and it's amazing. Their relationship is is beautiful. Everything about this film is beautiful. We saw it on a whim at South by Southwest. We just had 2 hours to fill in our schedule, and it was like easily one of the best we saw at the festival. Absolutely blew us both away, and I loved it a lot, man. So keep an eye out, keep it in the back of your head. If it shows up on streaming at some point soon, watch it. Watch it.
I'll keep it on the radar. Sounds interesting as hell, man.
What was it called again?
Las Hijas,
Okay.
The daughters.
in they call it sister and sister in English, but yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Looking forward to it if it gets picked up. I have 1.5 foreign picks on mine. One is Suzume by Makoto Shinkai, director of Your Name and Weathering with You. This one is very different from the other two. I was expecting it to be more connected to those, but it wasn't, and so I definitely need to rewatch it. But holy shit, the visuals in here are amazing, and I think it's even better than Weathering with You. I think it's I don't know if any anime can ever be as good as Your Name, but Suzume is really really fantastic. I won't give away any plot details, but holy crap, it all comes together in such a beautiful way. And there's some fun little side characters. There's one side character that like I I have no idea what possessed them to come up with a character like this. But I'm so glad that they did it because it's animated in such an interesting and weird way, but so believable. And have you guys seen it?
No.
Okay,
I
No,
wanted
haven't.
to. It actually showed at the theater here, which I did not expect, but it just blew
Same.
by me.
okay, yeah, definitely. There's, yeah, I'm not gonna say which character it is, but holy crap, it's so good. Yeah, worth the hype. This man keeps building on his magical realism vibes in a really awesome way. Keeps pushing the boundaries of the marriage between 2D and 3D animation, and awesome food animations like the first two movies as well. So
I'm in.
yeah,
I'm in. Yeah, I'm in.
It's the best. It's so good. Suzume.
Cool, man. Cool. For my number 2, I got John Wick 4. I think that just another addition to the saga that is John Wick. I can't help but always feel like to compare it to like the first one because I feel like the first one is still a little bit for me it's like the introduction to John Wick, so like it's almost timeless to me. And I think 4 did a really good job kind of adding to it. I think the fact that it was a bit longer. Well, I've heard both sides of the coin. Like I've heard some people say that it was too long. And I guess like with action, it could be a little bit tiresome. But I disagree with that. I think that the longer it went, the more like I guess enthralled I was into the story. The action set pieces are just great. I think like some of us kind of like us meaning the moviegoers kind of got used to seeing like like a lot of extravagant stuff, and I think that some people kind of got a little like greedy when it came to talking about the fight scenes, how they kind of felt samey. But I disagree too. I think that it still looks gorgeous. I think that a lot of the fun action scenes were ridiculously fun. They're supposed to be kind of absurdist. Like I think that they're supposed to be that funny and that exciting. But yeah, man, just had a blast with it. I really enjoyed like the characters for the most part. Some of the coolest ones, some of the coolest side characters in my opinion. Donnie Yen shining. I'm super happy to see him there. He was easily one of my favorite characters of the movie. But yeah, had a hell of a time. If they're going with a 5, I'm interested. I mean, I'll go watch it. I'm still gonna go watch it, but I really love how they kind of capped off number 4. But we'll see how that goes.
Nice. I
Hell
didn't see
yeah.
it. I tried to have a John Wick end, and I watched the first two, and then I started the three, and I was like, man, I'm bored. I'm tapping out. And so I just never finished three and never
Hmm.
saw four.
I saw 4 multiple times in IMAX,
Mm.
and you'll hear more about it later.
Oh, okay. Alrighty.
My number two comes out in 5 days. That's exciting. I think this
Woo!
episode will drop after. It's Joyride. This shit is so good. It's so hilarious. It felt like the Asian American Hangover. And it's so many big laughs. One of my favorite ensemble casts I've ever seen, easily. The chemistry is off the damn charts. The timing, the wit, everything about it is hilarious. So many unexpected bits and gags and plot turns, and this one was just so much fun. Um, it's a must see, honestly. I think that weekend it comes out, do yourselves a favor and fucking watch this shit, because it's gonna be one of the funniest movies of the year, maybe the funniest movie of the year. For me, it's the second. You'll see my number one, but it's a classic. It's an instant classic for me.
Hell yeah, man.
It's awesome. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. My number 2 is Past Lives, a fantastic debut feature starring Greta Lee and To Yu and John Magaro, directed by Celine Song, Korean Canadian director, and it's just really really delicate and beautiful, and very it has a very strong voice, very strong look about it, and it doesn't. It looks a lot prettier, looks a lot nicer than a lot of movies that are coming out now, particularly with its night cinematography.
Mm.
It's also got some fantastic writing in it about fate and love and belonging and regret. And yeah, just a fantastic romantic drama. Got a great and you know I hope it leads to Greta Lee getting a lot more stuff. I know she just got announced as the newest cast member of Tron 3, but I hope she gets a lot more roles after this, because holy shit, she's amazing. I remember she was a supporting character in the morning show season 2,
Mm.
just yelling at Billy Crudup for 10 hours and Jennifer Aniston for 10 hours. And I was like, I need to see more of her. And I got more of her. And it's just fantastic. Past Lives.
Nice, nice.
Cool, man.
Yeah, I had tickets to see it. They were booked and had to cancel. So I'm seeing it as soon as I can. Probably like within the next 48 hours.
Same here. I've only heard good things of that one, so I also have to add that to the watch list, add that to the mountain that keeps on growing every single time. Um, but my number one is actually an anime the second season dropped this year, so I'm kind of cheating in a way, I guess, because like the show actually started back in 2019, but
It's
I
fine.
wasn't introduced until this year, and I had also the pleasure of having the second season come out this year. So I pretty much bum rushed it. I watched the whole entire thing, and I truly cannot speak highly enough of this anime, Vinland Saga, uh, from the manga written by Makoto Yukimura. Um, and I like just kind of speaking on it in terms of like when you brought up writing for Past Lives, I can't help but feel the same way in terms of like a long term storyteller, a long time kind of like build up of consequences and reactions and relationships. And it's incredibly philosophical. The first season, I feel like, will really bring a lot of people in, and the second season was incredibly controversial because of how slow it was. But the slowness, in my opinion, is the whole point of it. It's incredibly philosophical, incredibly existential. Deals a lot with purpose and like the like our past actions. If we're even able to kind of like find peace within ourselves for like our past mistakes. Um, and yeah, there's a lot of action that comes with it, and I think like for the most part, that's one of the most prevalent parts of it. Um, Especially since it's a historical fiction. But it truly is one of the most moving pieces of just writing or just storytelling in general. It kind of gave me the same feeling as like when I got to read Berserk for the first time and having like a whole slew of emotions kind of rush through. It really questions a lot of things that you might not have thought of, makes you hate characters that you're supposed to love, and vice versa. I just think that like as a whole, it was one of the most incredible experiences I've had with any show.
Very
I don't
cool.
watch that weeb shit.
That was funny. That was so good, dude. But yeah,
Cool. Yeah. My number one is also not out yet. Sorry,
that's a
this
lot,
is not a
Jared.
very accessible list. But it comes out in August, so you won't have to wait too long. Hopefully, and it's a movie that I've been raving about, especially to Jared. I think I've brought it up like 8 times already. Because it's my favorite of the year so far, and it's gonna be hard to top. It just hit me in the right spot, and that's Bottoms. The return of the power duo of Emma Seligman and Rachel Sennett. I literally want them to be write everything together. I want them to just be the next Scorsese, De Niro. I love them so much. You've also got great co-lead in Ayo Edebiri. I don't know. I don't bet it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Io
Ayo Edebiri.
Edebiri. Io
Yeah.
Edebiri.
Okay, yeah, wasn't close. But she's amazing in it too. She's becoming quickly one of my favorite actresses right now. And everybody else in the cast is a damn 10 out of 10. This movie is gay as hell. It's goofy as hell. The jokes per minute are off the charts, dude. Every single like piece of signage in the background is hilarious. It's just that dense with jokes and bits. It has the tone of like a queer cult comedy from the 2000s. It's like so goofy. At no point does it take itself seriously. Fucking Marshawn Lynch has the performance of his career in it. The music's fantastic. You got Charlie XCX in there, so what's not to love? And the plot is just hilarious. Teens starting a fight club to lose their virginity. What more do you need? What more do you need out of movies this year? Screw Oppenheimer, screw Barbie. Just go watch Bottoms for the rest of the year.
I am very much looking forward to Bottoms, not just from Jared's hype, but I didn't even know Marshawn Lynch was in it until I saw the poster, and I was like, okay,
It was so good.
yeah.
Oh, man.
Very, very happy that he's moving forward with his acting because he's pretty good. Yeah, my number one is John Wick Chapter 4, man. I think
Nice.
this is one of the greatest action films of all time. I think it's the best one since either The Raid 2 or Mad Max Fury Road. I think performances all amazing. Freaking Rita Sawayama in her
Oh
acting
yeah,
debut, bro.
I know.
Oh my god,
Great.
amazing! And she's really fucking good too. Yeah, and Hiroyuki Sanada is in it. Donnie Yen, as you mentioned, is excellent. Bill Skarsgård with his wonderfully bad French
French.
accent is just I love it every time they get a non-French European to do a French accent. It's perfect. It's always perfect. Like Robert Pattinson in The King on Netflix. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Oh my god, yes,
He's the best
yes,
part of the
yes.
movie. He's the best part of the
100%.
movie. uh, yeah, he's got this like really obvious blonde wig, and he just talks in a really like funny French accent. It's
Yeah.
hilarious. But yeah, Scott Adkins in a fat suit. Never thought I'd live to see that, but and a fake German accent
Yep.
because why not? Yeah, man, I love everything about this movie. And even the goofy stuff, like putting those aside, I think it's just fantastically constructed. A really, really beautiful story told in a really, really beautiful way. It was the best theater experience I've had. I saw it opening night in IMAX, and people were cheering. And I hadn't had that in a very long time in a movie theater. And people were laughing. People were like, "Oh my god, really?" And it was just such a great time. And the fact that they are still continuing to innovate the way that they do gun fu and the way that they do martial arts action is just it really is so encouraging to me. It makes me excited for the state of action movies today. This one and Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, which I'm very much looking forward to. But yeah, I didn't include any TV shows in my favorites because The Bear is one of them, um, and because Beef is the other one, and everybody's already talking about Beef.
Yeah.
And yeah, but thank you guys. Those are great lists.
Me too.
And alrighty, chefs, every second counts. So let's get on the Bear season 2 review. The Bear season 2 follows Carmi, Richie, and Sydney as they continue their journey to become to rebuild the original Beef into the Bear restaurant. Also follows Carmi in his continuing processing of the grief of his brother's suicide. Yeah, the show builds on a lot of like interesting ideas that they talked about in season 1. There's again continuing with the themes of grief and recovery, but also new themes brought up, themes of restoration, of transformation into a leader, of maintaining a work-life balance, and the big theme that gets hammered in this one is the idea that every second counts. It's something that we saw when Carmi wrote it on the board when he first arrived at the original Beef, but now we understand because it's revealed to us the meaning behind it, which I thought was one of the big highlights of the thing. But yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about the story, about the cinematography and the characters. But before we do that, I want to get you guys' like just basic first impressions of the season 2 overall and what you thought about it. Renato, I know we heard a little bit from you, but let's hear a bit from Jared Lombardo.
Okay. I thought it was great. I think it fits kind of in the same category as Across the Spider-Verse for me, where like season 1 I think outshines it a bit just because it's like new, fresh, exciting. It feels like complete. And then this feels like the excellent second installment that transitions to like an obvious next part. And I think it does a great job in that role. I loved that they expanded further into the rest of the kitchen crew. It was great to see like Tina blossom, to see Richie like kind of get his shit together. Even like Nat has an amazing arc this season. It was just nice to like step out of the Carmy bubble a little bit. And I thought all of it, except for one character, was executed very well. I had some light issues, mostly with the romance of the season, and the music was a downgrade for me. I think it, like, especially in the early episodes, it took me out a bit, but overall it was a fantastic second installment for sure.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
for
no,
it.
for sure. I think that for the most part, you and I kind of agree in terms of like the romance, and I don't think it has to do really at all with the acting. It's more so like the writing that comes from it.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not gonna lie to you. Maybe it's just because I'm so in love with like the bear at this point that at least for you, right? Like for me right now, I can't possibly tell you which season I like more. And maybe that's just my blind stanness of this show, but I just can't help but really get drawn into like the little tiny psychotic, chaotic world that they kind of cultivated. I think that season two really kind of uh, dips into like the development that I think that we wanted to see. Like the first season, I feel like they keep on mentioning it, especially the creator Christopher Storer and Jeremy Allen White, who plays Carmi. That like season one was supposed to be almost like a prologue, and like with that knowledge, obviously, like you look back on, you go, yeah, it kind of does because you really kind of are scratching the surface of this dysfunctional family, and this dysfunctional like group of people trying to, you know, keep a boat from sinking. And I think with season two, kind of keeping that going, was gonna be interesting, and I kind of like that, as Jared was mentioning, with the balancing of like a work life and a personal life, is intertwined rather well when it comes to Carmi, simply because like he's such an anxious guy. He is so afraid of like I wouldn't even know how to describe it. I guess he's just like nothing really good has happened, so he kind of expects only the bad to happen, so he kind of accepts it in that sort of way. I agree with everything that Jared said with like the whole themes of you know, transformation, you know, getting a second chance, especially when it comes to like Richie, having to find himself in his mid 40s was is such an interesting concept, that even is relatable for people like people our age and younger, trying to find yourself. Um, and I found myself incredibly like lost in the world too. We can go into the cinematography a little later, but like the subtle like voyeuristic zoom ins or when they're going out into the town, really gorgeous stuff. Uh, I think it just did a really job executing kind of like the meat and potatoes of like starting this restaurant. It's very chaotic. It's very you know, it's very the bear, just just to kind of put it bluntly, and like it just to save myself some time. But I enjoyed it all the way. I agree that the music maybe isn't as memorable, but I wouldn't say that it's like terrible. I'm still like I'm still a pretty big fan of it. I think they use like a refused song a couple times. So like you know, me being like the heavy music enthusiast, I couldn't help but be happy when they played that one. But I had a hell of a lot of fun with season two, and I can't wait for the next season.
Yeah, you a big Bruce Hornsby in the Range fan?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, seriously, gotta put that. You gotta etch that into my tombstone, dude.
Yeah. That's kind of fun that we're all we all see this the way we see this, because like I actually put this above season two, and so it's nice that we have like one extreme and one extreme, and then we're out of in the middle. I put this above season one. Sorry, man, I misspoke.
Okay.
But yeah, I think this was for me at least fulfillment of the potential that season one presented. To me, I as much as I loved season one, I did think that a lot of because there was so much setup, a lot of the themes and a lot of the story elements were a little more shallow. And I also didn't like really any of the dream sequences in season one. I'm glad they got rid of those. I think they were very distracting from, and actually not really. They kind of held back from what I thought was fascinating about Carmi. And here, we also get an expansion into Jared mentioned it earlier, but expansion into the rest of the kitchen, especially Tina, and having Nat or Sugar become a part of it as well. I thought was really awesome. And then also seeing Marcus going on his own journey, and yeah, it was just really interesting and really cool to me. I think the cinematography is a lot better too this season. But yeah, I don't know. I still I love both. I think it's it is just really stunning to me, this particular story or this particular chapter in the story of the bear. And yeah, I think the performances, especially by Eben Moss Bachrach, I think were were even better. But yeah, we could talk a little bit. We talked a little bit about it, but do both seasons kind of, or the show as a whole, kind of walks a very thin line between drama and comedy. How do you guys think season two was balanced in terms of tone between those two things? And if so, why? If not, why? Starting with Renato.
I'm gonna go ahead and say yeah, mainly because like we're always like I feel like we're always surrounded by like the majority of the characters. Like they're either like in one enclosed space, so like it's not just gonna be, for example, like Carmi and Sydney talking for forever, and like in a scene. Usually, it's like they're walking around. It's constant chaotic movement, and then out of nowhere, it's like, boom, you get Richie and Fack arguing about something. So it's like it feels like these interactions that come from these very natural characters, especially knowing that most of these guys were like kind of immature, Fack and Richie. It almost feels like their comedy intertwines well with, let's say, for example, I forgot what episode it was, so forgive me, but when they're kind of trying to like figure out like how to get the fridge fixed and like how to get like like the gas going, and then like I don't know where Marcus comes in with the phone and is like, oh hey Carm, fridge guy, and he just tosses the fucking phone at Carmi, and like obviously like at that moment you're like oh shit, and then all of a sudden it quick cuts to Carmi and Sydney just ducking real quick, and then he's just like the phone just shatters, and then he just goes, I'll call him back. And it's like that stuff like that where it's like it fits because it's so chaotic, and Jeremy Allen White is so well or so good at is so good at kind of conveying this like utter numbness to the absolute anxiety he's constantly feeling. So his delivery, I feel like, uh, also helps. So I would say yeah, just because it comes off natural, like a kind of like a character that is only used solely for comedic relief can sometimes get like not boring but annoying. But I feel like in the bear, really, at least for me, in my opinion, no one really came across, annoying or overly, like overly doing it. And I know everyone can say point to Fack because he's like, I guess, like almost literally like the single, like the you can say like comedic relief character, but even he comes with a lot of, heart and whatnot. So yeah, I would say yeah, it does a great job balancing comedy and drama extremely well.
Yeah, yeah, 100% agree. I think it was as good of a balance as season one, and season one balanced it great. It was nice to see Fack and Richie like not just be comedic and have like dramatic roles, or Fack stepping up to actually help the restaurant for once and be useful. And so I think they both grew as characters, and that helped bridge the gap more. But you also get like some great comedic moments from Carmi, from Marcus. Episode 6 has some of the most dramatic moments, maybe the most dramatic moment, and then also some of the best comedic moments.
Yeah.
And I think it does balance super well here.
Yeah. I think the best sequels always, in addition to giving us something new, they give us more of what we loved about the first one. And,
Mhm.
you know, um, this season, yeah, made me cry and made me laugh, similar to the first. Particularly with episode 6, I'm sure we'll have a lot to say about that once we get to it. But also when in Forks, which is another favorite episode of mine, when Richie finally gets it, when he finally
Yeah.
understands what it means, and yeah, I mean it's really cool. Let's. Do you think season 2 was balanced in terms of pacing and character screen time? Where do you see that at its best, and where do you see that at its worst? I know, Jared, you mentioned not really being a fan of the romantic story between Carmi and Claire. Could you elaborate more on that, and also about other characters?
Yeah, yeah. For me, it just felt a little forced, and I think most of the history that they like pump into us is literally just other characters going, "Oh, I love Claire. Oh, Claire, she's the best," and I feel like we're just supposed to like accept that. Like it felt like they were just trying to like MK Ultra it into our head that like she's a likable character instead of like making her do things that were likable. And by the end, she did start growing on me, but like at first, it was literally like, oh yeah, she's the greatest. I hope nobody hurts her, and so it just felt a little unlike the show to just kind of hammer that in so much. Um, and like she makes Carmi a dumbass, dude. I hated Carmi this season. Like I loved him, but he was so annoying. Like it's just not being the most efficient man. And but overall, I think they balanced a lot of the characters well. I think more Sid would have been cool, especially for how much of the load she's carrying in the restaurant, in the menu creation. She gets a lot of time in some episodes, but then just like disappears entirely. And I don't know. She seems like she's doing the most work for the restaurant, but not getting as much screen time as that work deserved. But what we do get out of her is great. The restaurant montages are great. The food creations for the menu are amazing. I was I was loving it, and so it almost balanced for me with her. Um, but yeah, overall, I think the characters were pretty balanced. One arc that I hated, I mentioned there was one character that I was not a fan of, and that was my boy Ibrahim or
Yeah.
Ibrahim. I don't remember. Um, Motherfucker just disappears, and then they rehire him in this supposedly strict ass restaurant. Look, if somebody was signed up for a culinary school that was paid for, just didn't show up or say anything, and then came back and tried to get a job, I'm sorry. I don't care if you worked there before. I'm not trusting you. I'm not trusting you on that takeout window. And so I feel like he was like real half-assed. Um, maybe Edwin Lee Gibson had other shit to do and was filming somewhere else. Maybe there was some reason he just disappears, but I think they shortchanged him, and I don't like that they brought him back afterwards. It felt against the mentality that the bear as a restaurant is trying to do.
You know, yeah, just to kind of build off of that with the Ibra thing, I feel like they wanted to say something like in terms with Ibra, maybe like of some of like having to want to do his thing his way, his refusal to kind of like change with like the dynamic of the restaurant. And for the most part, it kind of left me feeling like how the first season left me, where you kind of have that gigantic climax, right, where the takeout, the online order stuff that Sydney kind of fucks up, and they all of a sudden go into frenzy, right? And Carmi just absolutely explodes on everyone. Marcus, Sydney, who, like, whatever, right? And like I think we can all agree, like at least for the most part, the scene with that, like that whole thing going down, it was like a lot of people's faults, but for the most part, it was just like, nah, Carmi's the fucking asshole. Carmi's like the one who's at fault, and like he ends up being the one kind of apologizing. Where like I feel like if for a show that is so heavy on like decisions, and like having to change or the refusal to change, right? Because that's what it is, that's what the whole show is about, at least for me, like this changing, constant changing for the better or for the worse in the right. And I feel with Ibra, they kind of wanted to do a little bit of like a bright, warm moment, but it almost feels like, yeah, he left Tina by herself, just left her there. She kept on pounding, and then like, at least for me, there should have been a little bit of like some closure to it, rather than just, yeah, they hired him to be like the takeout guy. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, I guess that sort of sense, Ibra was the guy that I felt was kind of underused as well. And then really quickly to talk about the romance, I think it's just like that Claire kind of comes off very like, what is it, the gesture, the manic pixie dream girl, where it's like,
Yeah,
she
I was
kind
gonna
of,
say the girl next door.
yeah, the girl that like under any circumstances just is like head over heels about this like super flawed, kind of like neurotic dude who hates himself super like too much, the like, but she just has this refusal to stop like caring for him. And I understand, like, in a way, what she's there for. Like, it's kind of like to pull Carmi in a certain direction. But I would have kind of liked to see more of her character fleshed out. I think there was a little bit missing. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you like what they could have added. But there's something felt like that could have been developed a little bit more, because Carmi just kind of like sinks into it, right? And like I guess you can kind of believe it, right? Because he says, "I've never had friends, I've never had girlfriends," so maybe he is like one of those guys that like affection all of a sudden, boom, right? But for the most part, I just kind of felt like it was just another way to like bring conflict, bring tension to him and Sydney, to kind of like force him to balance something that he feels like he can't balance. Like, he feels like he can't balance work life and home life. But yeah, I just feel like for the most part she was a rather like weak character. um Now that Jared mentions it, it's kind of freaking hilarious and absurd how many times they do say like Claire Bear. Oh, I love Claire Bear. Claire Bear.
Yeah.
Claire Bear. But yeah, it's an unfortunate like part of it, but like at least for me, it was not. Let's not. It doesn't take too much away, but it is kind of distracting at times.
Yeah, like I like the conflict she brings, and I think it's good for Carmi's character to like face the confrontation of work and home life balance.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know, it was just kind of shoehorned in for me.
How'd you guys feel about Marcus's journey?
Marcus is, I think his episode is one of those really shining like moments of the season, where he's taken his trip to where is it in Europe again?
Copenhagen.
Copenhagen, right? So like that I think that's one of the few episodes that very like feels very slow. It feels like you kind of get a little bit of time of like a bit of quiet, like a nice slice of life for Marcus. I think it was also meant to kind of like force him to reflect in a way, about the his decisions or like his uncertainty, because like obviously like the big looming obstacle for Marcus this season is a sick mom. He does have that conflict with Sydney, like his feelings with her, but for the most part, I feel like the prevailing issue is his mom, and I feel like maybe in terms of like the theme of like with purpose and being able to kind of like become a better person, he kind of struggles with that. Which actually, if you don't mind me like asking you guys about the episode, and I guess spoiler, but like,
We can do spoilers.
cool, okay. But that scene where he's going back home and he sees like the guy trapped under the fence, right? Like, at least for you guys, what was like the prevailing message that you thought was supposed to come from that scene? that happened with Marcus and this like random man.
I honestly, I don't know. It felt weird and out of place. I was like, I get it. It felt like a kind of save the cat thing to make us more on Marcus's side, but I don't
Definitely.
know. It just, yeah, it kind of caught me off guard, and then I forgot about it because they showed me pretty pastries.
I'm not sure either. I rewatched the last three episodes, but I wanted to rewatch this one before we started, and I forgot to. But I don't know. You know, I think for both Carmi and Marcus, they have this interesting thing where, for those two, for Richie and Sid, they are trying to improve on where they were at the beginning of season one, while also keeping in balance with their lives and with the good people in their lives and with the relationships in their personal lives. And I think it's interesting to have both of them fail. And I don't even really interpret Carmi's Carmi and Claire's relationship as a romance. I feel like, to me, it's him backsliding in his journey as the hero. It's him becoming this person. It's him repeating the cycle that comes from his mother. And that's why I think a lot of attention is given to his mother this season. I think that's why a lot of attention is given to Marcus's mother. Is this idea that Marcus is pouring all this time and devotion into his mother, and she can't respond back to him. He saves this guy on a bike, and the guy doesn't even talk to him. The guy just bikes away. He saves this guy's life, probably. He asks Sid out, and she doesn't say anything. And that's when he explodes. Marcus, the lack of return on the affection and devotion that Marcus provides makes him fail as in his personal relationships. Because of that, even though he has his most shining moment as a chef, his most triumphant moment, he misses a call from his mother's caretaker. And we're going to see what happens. Maybe he missed his mother's death because of that. Same with Carmi. He improves his relationship with his sister. He improves his relationship with his cousin. Improves his relationship with Sid at the cost of a romance and hurting someone the way his mother would hurt him, with really awful verbal abuse. It wasn't intentional towards her, but he was still yelling shit at Richie that was like, "I wish you were dead. Your child hates you. Your wife hates you." He was saying all that stuff, and what does Richie call him? Richie calls him Donna. Good work, Donna.
Yeah.
And so, to me, that's what those relationships represent, and that's what those journeys represent. Is it's a perfect follow up to season one and a perfect setup for season three. Is how these two characters have backslid so far, despite their growth. I talked a little bit about Sid. I think her journey is kind of interesting too. She graduates from Sue to CDC, chef de cuisine. I know we all would have loved more screen time of her and would have loved more stuff, but we do get some insight into her relationship with her father, played by the beautiful Robert Townsend, who I was very surprised to see. Also eating Filipino food, which I was also hyped to see. So what did you guys think of Sid's journey? And then we'll move on to Richie and then move on from there.
I feel like I've been talking too much. Go ahead, Jared.
Okay. I liked it a lot. I think she has one of the most complete journeys. I'd say Richie probably has like the most growth as a character and most satisfying growth. I do think she kind of her arc is kind of a try super hard, build herself up, but then Carmi still discounts her. So it felt a little like a repetition of season one. But I think that kind of works in its favor in a way. I think that like hitting that wall that is just the lack of approval from Carmi um, is cool. I think it's a great conflict for her. She gives us some of the best food montages in the show. I was watching with my fiance, and she was like squeezing my arm whenever there was delicious looking food on screen, that's thanks to Sydney, because we really all the cooking in this season is Marcus or Sid really, and so I loved that. That was one thing that I was kind of missing in this season, especially episodes 1 and 2. But then the rest of the season, they hit it home. And I think yeah, she has kind of a basic arc, at least in terms of like a lot of characters this season. Like Tina just grows like crazy, Richie grows like crazy. But it was very satisfactory for me.
Yeah. I would have to agree. I think that the simplicity of Sydney's kind of arc, I think, benefits her entirely as a character. Because like, yeah, we've seen characters like this before, right? The hyper ambitious character that like is super competitive, but ultimately falls short because like although they might kind of perceive themselves some certain way, um, maybe they can't like they need support during pressure or whatever. And like I couldn't help but like feel frustrated for Sydney during the season too, where it was just Jared mentioning how like Carmi was kind of unlikable this season. I would have to agree, especially when it comes to like the collaboration that came with Sydney, because like I really do enjoy Sydney's alone time, especially like when it came to her kind of figuring out like as you mentioned the different dishes, the different flavor choices that she wanted, like she was experimenting with. Um, I feel like her whole like character is supposed to be this character where like she's like this character with a chip on her shoulder that is super massive, and like she's kind of hoping that somebody would give her some sort of validation, and like I guess like the lack of her mother not being there, right? The fact that she's so nonchalant about it maybe is like one of those prevailing issues where it's like she doesn't feel like she's had someone there for her, and in this case partnering up with Carmi, she sees Carmi as this like mentor or this person to look for validation. And like as Jared was mentioning the fact that she wasn't getting it, not even getting the time to like get this menu done, and whatnot. I couldn't help but just root for her the entire way because it's like it's easy to see her as like a cranky character. I've read a lot of forums and like reviews saying that like she kind of comes off a little bit like bitchy, and I'm just like, well, I mean, imagine trying to do this and like your partner is kind of skedaddling and changing
I don't think
plans.
she was bitchy enough. I would fucking rip him a new asshole, dude. He's
Yeah,
shutting
like
you down.
it's really really great to see her kind of get at least a little growth in terms of like her getting the approval of her father was a nice little touch. The first little touch, like the first little taste that she gets it from is obviously from Tina, and their dynamic is great too. It's just like I think like a lot of it is just like the fact that she hasn't been able to speak to Carmi, hasn't been able to get his attention, and it kind of feels like her I guess it's like this looming kind of sense of like insecurity that comes with her. Like we know that she's great, we know that she can do a lot of shit, but does she truly believe that? Does she 100% believe she can do something like that? Like I feel like there's a lot going in with Sydney that it is more individual than anything, that stems from like a familial issue. And like I feel like that's like the overall thing. It's all family, right? Richie with his ex-wife, Carmi with his family, and Richie with Carmi's family too, obviously. But then Sydney with hers, Marcus with his. Like it seems like a lot of work from work and work from like from home, and it's just it seems like that's kind of like the thing that kind of ties them together. But yeah, I thought with Sydney, I thought it was a well done one. I don't think she needed to have like some crazy one, but you can tell that she's like one of these budding characters that has a lot of ambition. She just needs to find her way. um I mean, there's just so much character development. You can talk for hours on like any individual one and kind of see like the try to kind of guess what the whole like where their whole progression goes. Because you honestly listening to you, dude, like I really agree now that like it kind of this season in a weird way is like a season of like not necessarily, I don't want to say failure, but for lack of a better word, failure, right? Where it's just like there was a step taken back in terms of like trying to do something, you know, like as you were saying.
Yeah, it's a big theme, especially in Sydney's arc. You know, it's I think one of the big reveals was that, you know, well, we knew in season one that she was coming off of the failure of her catering business.
Yeah.
And that her main thing was, I don't want to repeat that ever again. I need to win because this is my last chance to prove to myself that I can do it. But that's kind of not true. We find out that really what she's trying to do is impress her dad, and her dad's proud of her no matter what, you know. But even though he loves her, even though he's proud of her, even though he's a good father to her and still like lets her live with him, he's lightly suggesting that she maybe go into another field. And that's kind of where I'm at with my parents. And,
Yeah.
And you know, it's when you get that moment where he first tastes it, and then you also get that wonderful close up where he sees the soda cart, and he gets it. Like it's those moments in this season that I think make it really special, where a character who hasn't understood something so vital for so long just gets it. And so that's how I feel about Sydney's thing was, she did succeed in impressing her father. However, she gets to where she had wanted to be at the beginning of season one, which was to be the CDC, and she chokes.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be something big that's going to be addressed in season 3. The fact that she couldn't handle the expo. But the guy who ended up saving the day on Expo, Richie, our beloved Richie, who you know, was such a thorn in the side of literally everybody
Yeah.
up until season 2, episode 7, is a really, really awesome journey. I love Eben in every single thing he was in. He was in most recently where I saw him was Andor season 1, and he was in like
Oh
3
yeah.
episodes, and he's perfect. He's perfect. But yeah, he's the manager of the restaurant, and now he's the front of house manager and the expo as well of the bear. What did you guys think of his journey, particularly in the early episodes, going into Forks, going into the end?
Oh, go ahead.
Anybody? I don't care.
Personally, I thought Richie's was like my favorite in terms of like if there were any kind of arc that was so like kind of like refreshing and incredibly moving, and it's not to say like that any other arc didn't have those elements, but with Richie in particular, all of these characters in some way or another have a trauma or have some sort of tragedy, but like Richie is so undeniably for me like the guy that has like a constant cloud of like shit over him that is like this tragic character, like and it's tragic in quite literally the Shakespearean sense, where it's just like his flaws that he seemingly always runs back into. He can't let go of him. He can't fix him for some weird reason, and like it pisses him off. And I think that the all that culmination kind of added up in the show where he's just kind of like talking about purpose and finding out like what he wants to do. You know, the thoughts and like that go through his head, his fear of like leaving a legacy behind and all that stuff. And even though in the show he's 45, I think that's still like, as you were mentioning with Sydney, right? How relatable her arc was. I couldn't help but feel the same way with Richie, where like even me at 25, I can't help but feel like sometimes that maybe I did the wrong thing, or my purpose is kind of taken into question or something like that. And it kind of feels very strange. And I can only imagine how scary it must be for Richie at that age. But I think that the whole episode Forks having been sent off, right? And then having one of the most incredible episodes as well for me, like just go down, having him hear some of the worst news of his life. And in terms of like, you know, it's not like I just like in measurement, like for him looking at it like as an event that crushed him, like having his ex-wife call him to tell him that she got re-engaged, and then all of a sudden, him finally taking the effort to improve. You could say, well, maybe it's a little like too late or whatever, but I can't help but resonate so hard with that kind of moment, having like a grand change in your life, whether it's a good one or a bad one, and having this go down, and finally Richie getting it, as Jared was mentioning, like his whole relationship with Garrett, if I remember correctly, is amazing. His character is great. Having him just kind of like fucking tell him off, like finally just being like, look, you might not give a shit about this, like, but you have to respect it. Respect the staff, respect me, respect the chefs, and respect your fucking self, man. Like, it's such a wonderful like climax. And then obviously in this show, having like some really wonderful guest appearances, having Olivia Colman be there, and honestly have one of the most like nice warm conversations in the show. Just truly one of the feel good moments of the show, in my opinion. Like seeing Richie kind of finally get to feel like he's someone. It was really moving, like incredibly touching, and you know, I'm a sucker for that sort of stuff. You know, kind of trying to give people like a second chance and help them figure out their own thing. And yeah, it was really wonderful.
Mm-hmm. It was the Taylor Swift driving away. That's what did it.
I
That's
fully
exactly
cried
what
when
did.
when I heard the banjo. I was like, yeah. This is it.
Yeah, I think Richie has like the biggest success of the show this season. I think his goal is to gain the power of self-respect and make something of himself, and I think he does that pretty wonderfully. And I was an awesome journey. I was pretty anti Richie. I think he was like just kind of an annoying dude to be around, and like I would not want to hang out with him. I think he was bad for the restaurant. And then after Forks, post Forks, and especially after the finale, I'm like, hell yeah, just great to see. And watching him brag about wearing suits now is hilarious. He gave us a lot of great comedic moments, a lot of great victorious moments, like that Taylor Swift moment. And yeah, overall, it was the most satisfying arc. I think it was the arc they put the most effort into, and I think it paid off dividends without a doubt.
I remember in both our season 1 review and in our season 1 review of Breaking Bad, I told Jared that I love the characters that are assholes in season 1 are the ones that get me the most excited because they have the most potential. Yeah, 100. So like even Dwight in The Office, like one of the best characters in that show, and same with Richie. I think even beyond the Forks episode when he's in the restaurant and he's putting the suit on Fac
Oh
and
yeah.
helping him respect himself as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really, really funny. I love that he didn't stop cursing as well. Because that edge is kind of what gives him the ability to step up to the plate in really tough clutch moments.
Yeah.
And seeing him observe Jess, the expo at Chef Terry's restaurant, was really really was a really really great moment as well, because he was like, I start to see the pattern, and this is the fulfillment of Richie's potential in season one, right? The question that hangs over his head isn't just, can we get this toxic guy out of here? It's, what do you even do?
Yeah.
And they answer it for us in season one. They just don't say it out loud until now, which is that he's really good with people. This guy was born to be the front house manager. From the way he's able to calm down the nerds with a single gunshot and a megaphone in the first episode, which I don't recommend you doing, but anyone doing. To the way that he's able to easily take over Expo and easily make Uncle Jimmy's day with the
Oh my
chocolate covered
gosh.
banana,
Yeah.
and make Cicero like cry. This guy who's been criticizing them, and he wants them to succeed. He wants them to do it, but he keeps pushing and pushing and pushing, and then he's like, oh my god, like he actually like he's so. I just love that look in Oliver Platt's eyes, because it's like he's just so proud of Richie, and so proud of the like what he's been able to do and what he did with that banana. Yeah, love Garrett. Shout out Filipinos again, man. Andrew Lopez killing it. And shout out Jillian Jacobs, one of my favorites from Community. Wonderful, wonderful guest star. She kind of shows Richie's softer side in episode 6, and I also loved how they showed his dread when Mikey was starting, because that's right when Mikey's starting to fall apart, and and when he realizes that Mikey has a problem, and it's like I like I understand so much about his pain now, like having to deal with that for 5 years. The fact that he never left Michael's side for that entire time for 5 years, and he still, couldn't do anything about it. No wonder he hurt. It's so easy for him to hurt other people because he's hurt so badly inside. But yeah, that dolly of him with putting the suit on for the first time, and he's like, feels like
Oh
armor.
yeah. Yeah.
Fucking crash zooms in that.
Yeah.
We're crazy.
So good, so good, and yeah, the beautiful moment with Olivia Colman. I agree with you guys. Speaking of which, holy shit, the guest stars.
Yeah,
We got finally revealing Carmi's mentor being played by Olivia Colman. We also got Will Poulter playing Chef Luca, who mentors Marcus. We got John Mulaney playing their cousin-in-law, Sarah Paulson playing their cousin Michelle, Bob Odenkirk playing their mother's boyfriend, Uncle Lee. We got their mother being played by frickin' Jamie Lee Curtis. Like dude, I swear I paused it and I had to take a lap across my living room. I was like, what the hell am I watching?
And honestly, she gave the best performance of the season.
She was fucking fantastic.
She's amazing. John Bernthal returns as Mikey. I don't think I missed
Joel
any.
McHale.
Joel
pops
McHale,
up
yeah. Again, Alex Moffat from SNL playing a meth addict chef, meth addict cook. Yeah, man, amazing cast this season. Any particular standouts from the various guest stars? Who was your favorite? Yeah,
Yeah, kind of spoiled it. Jamie Lee Curtis,
yeah,
I think performance of the season, even though she's in I think just 2 episodes. Um, both are amazing, especially episode 6. Like, goddamn, that like twisted some knife in me
Yeah.
to watch. Like, so many people I know are like that, and it's like it just hurts. It's just so real. It was too real. Between her and Sydney's dad, I was like, oh god, this is hurting too much. John Mulaney's speech was fantastic, and it was great to see him play like a wholesome character post rehab. Because like his specials, like gotta, he's like breaking out of that like by
Yeah.
force. And so it was cool to see him just be like a wholesome dude. And his speech was great. Everybody in the flashback episode absolutely killed it, though. I don't think there was a single cameo. Maybe Joel McHale because he just sits in a booth. I don't think there was a single person who let me down. Wilt Poulter was fantastic. It was awesome to see him as a mentor. Yeah, across the board, nothing but gold stars.
Yeah, I mean, just for not naming Jamie Lee Curtis, I'll go with Will Poulter. I think Will Poulter for me was a standout, mainly because like I'm only so familiar with like his goofier stuff, and even now with like Guardians of the Galaxy memeing the shit out of him, like it's kind of hard to at least for me to kind of see him and be like, all right, let me see him be like a very serious chef, like he's a baker, and he does this thing very seriously, but I don't know, like having him be such a subdued, very like quiet to himself kind of guy, like a guy that you kind of need to crack like a peanut. You kind of need to like, give it a little time, and soon enough he'll kind of you'll end up having like a friendship with him. But I think like it just remind me so much of like how dudes just become friends, and
Yeah.
just like the constant repetition of doing something, or like the shared experience of learning something new. And I think that the conversations that he was having with Marcus, they were so like so casual, but also incredibly like telling of both their characters, of their desires. And Will Poulter, I think, just based on the fact that he was playing something a little bit more subtle and just temporary, knowing that it's going to be just a temporary moment with him, kind of made it feel special. And I really was really blown away by his performance because, like I said, just like the goofy stuff he's done. I've seen him in the really great miniseries Dope Sick, and he's also really great in that one. But even in that one, he kind of is kind of still playing like a little bit of a naive kind of business guy, salesman. But in this one, kind of feeling full of charisma and a quiet intensity. Just I thought he did a really good job nailing that.
Yeah. Also, he's so hot now. What the?
Yeah, he is, isn't he? He's handsome as fuck. I was like, dang, I want to be that dough.
Sexy, Will Poulter.
they managed to catch him right when he was done working
Right,
out
yeah.
for the Marvel movie.
100%.
Yeah, he was great. I think I'm tied between Donna and Garrett. Garrett only because he has the best line in the whole season, where the
Yes.
the CDC yells at him. He's like, "Fuck you, Garrett." Yes, chef. Fuck me.
Fuck me.
But yeah, no. Donna was very telling of the characters that we met in season 1, particularly Carmi and Nat, and I think she was an interesting, like, it's weird. Her once we reveal like exactly how bad she was to everybody, you understand Pete more, you understand Uncle Jimmy more, you understand Carmi and Sugar more, because this is the presence of her is constantly hanging over their heads. And so seeing Sugar's like disappointment on on the family and friends night was really really heartbreaking, but also seeing her throughout the season kind of just rise above it and try to be a good project manager while also, dealing with a pregnancy and dealing with the anxiety of like, how do I break the cycle? How do I be a mother when my mother was like this to me? How do I do all that? Like, I'm interested to see those questions explored more in her character in season 3. I'm happy that they were brought up in this season because I feel like her character was kind of very in the background this season. But I'm happy that the introduction of Donna added another layer of depth to both her and Carmi. And yeah, man, that episode 6 was I had to split that up. I couldn't handle it. I had to take a little break and go to the bathroom, take a drink of water. It's like, okay, and then go back. But yeah, I never want to Feast of the Seven Fish. I don't even know what that was a thing. That's crazy. But yeah, shout out Italian Americans making it hard on themselves, as always.
You'll
It's funny. I'm watching The Sopranos right now, and it's the same shit. No, very very different. But yeah, I also really, I also wonder if we're gonna get more of Sarah Paulson's character next season because of
True.
Michelle,
Yeah.
because she mentioned that she was a restaurateur as well. So we'll see about that. I would like to see more of Tiffany next season as well, just to see how she reacts to the bear and to Richie's growth. Maybe potential romance between Richie and Jess. I don't know. I saw
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah. There
little,
was, there
little,
was, there was,
a little,
there was some
some.
electricity.
just a little.
Yeah, fantastic characters all around. And last but not least, the filmmaking of it. This
Oh
is
yeah.
a cinematic art form. How did they improve? Is it a down step from the cinematography of season 1? How do you guys feel about? Because it still feels the same and it still kind of looks the same, but there are some very very interesting differences in terms of technique here. How do you guys feel about those?
Well, as a fellow non-DPer, I definitely have some idea, some like thoughts, right? But and I think that you can obviously see that they maybe had a little bump in the budget because like I think that they kind of were a little bit more experimental in terms of like the differences in like cuts and whatnot. Because I feel like the one of the big things that came from the bear, especially like besides the story and besides the accuracy of like of showing like the service industry, is that like the editing was incredibly frantic and very
Yeah.
kinetic. And I would agree, but I think that for me the moments that were really enjoyable as we were talking about were like the a little bit toned down, slower moments. I'm thinking more so like when kind of Sydney again goes on her little like food adventure, and you get this really lovely montage that kind of weaves in between also like these like as I was mentioning like these zoom ins of like Sydney crossing a bridge, right? Or she's like on a boat or something. And as she's going on the boat, you see like the camera kind of zoom in slowly. It feels very like voyeuristic, but not in a weird way. In a very like joining this person on like a very warm adventure. But I thought for the most part like they did a good job, uh, cinematography wise. I think that it looks really really wonderful. It looks gorgeous. It's still really really lovely, like especially like the yellows and the greens that kind of come out during the day, really nice. But yeah, no, I thought they did a really good job.
Yeah, agreed. I don't think it was. I think it was a small upgrade
Yeah.
compared to season one, because I think season one, like every episode, I needed to like just pause and like catch my breath and like recoup because it was just so stressful. And I think they did a good job sitting in stillness. They kept that stress, especially in the
Yeah.
last two episodes. But even the last episode, some of the most stressful moments they do in one long take, and then they like
Yep.
swing into the dining room, which was super cool. And like shooting episode 6 on film and like making it twice as long as every other episode, basically. Like they did some small touches that I think worked. And I agree with what Jared said in the very beginning. Absence of dream sequences was nice. I like that they opted
Yep.
for they kind of replaced them with flashbacks. It felt, and I think that worked super well pace wise. But the visual of it, small improvement. I think it wasn't like mind blowing. Like it didn't drop my jaw on the floor with their amazing sweeping shots. But what they did do, they executed very well, and I yeah, I think it was a slight improvement off of a great start.
Yeah, I do wonder if that is because of the increased budget.
Mhm.
I'm not entirely sure though. But yeah, like I noticed even the B-roll was cleaner.
Hmm.
Some wonderful like Dutch angles of just buildings, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh, very cool.
No awful CGI fire.
No awful
Oh
CGI
my God!
fire.
Thank gosh, right? I had that locked away in my fucking like
It
safe
was
in my
so
head.
bad.
And they did it twice.
They
Um,
did.
no, yeah, and also that really awesome wonder of Sid and Carmi working on the table. I think that's the shot of the series, man, and that's the relationship that I'm most fascinated by in the whole show is their
Hmm.
friendship and their collaboration because they both know that they're at their best when they're together and when they're on the same page, but they're constantly being pulled apart. And
Yeah.
and that's what I think I loved so much about this season was them finally saying that out loud to each other and saying I couldn't do this without you to each other. I was like, yes, this is what I want. Power of friendship. I want this. I want this in every TV show. Power of friendship. Yeah, I don't know.
Screw Fast and Furious. This is the real family.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Oh man. But yeah. We also. Yeah, I think to your guys' point, it does help. I think add balance to the franticness of that season one established. Especially a lot of those cleaner shots. I think moving from a handheld look to a more steady look, I think was really helpful to that. I think there's also a very like I feel like an emotional difference with the lighting and in the new restaurant
Hmm.
as well, and it's just really really cool.
Yeah. The
Um,
restaurant looks so good too. That
Yeah.
window is clean. The door, but
Yep.
it's like not like it's where the window is, but not where. Yeah,
It's
great.
gorgeous.
amazing, amazing. Alrighty. Favorite episodes?
Hmm.
I'm down. Um, episode 6. I forgot what it was called. 7 fishes, probably.
Fishes.
Fishes. That was easily one of the best episodes of TV that we'll get this year and in a long time. Like it was just perfect placement, perfect execution. Loved it. The following episode, Forks, was great. And then for me, the last two, I really want to just like have sex with the omelet that she made, Sugar.
Oh
Like,
my
it was
God, I know.
so good looking.
So good.
And then it comes together so well in the finale too. Like the finale was just a payoff of everything. fucking hated Carmi for pounding on the goddamn door for so long. Obviously, they can't get you out, or they would. Stop knocking. I know you're upset. It's just bad. Just stop. Just cut it out. But it was great. It was yeah. A excellent finale. And an excellent season.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm gonna say, for me, definitely, the Marcus going to Europe episode. I believe it's called Honeydew, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
The episode, yeah, Honeydew, and I'll say Forks. I would also put Fishes and even the last one. I think the last one also does a really incredible job. But I think those two big character episodes for me were just like so ingrained in my head, especially the Forks episode. It really did hit me like really really hard. Will Poulter, like I mentioned again, highlight for me too. And I guess like when it comes to like the last episode, just to talk about it just a little bit, but I can't help but just feel like every season's gonna have a scene like that now. That we're gonna have like in season 1 we had that frenetic. We need 35 fucking sandwiches in 15 minutes, and it's like, oh
burgers,
shit,
55 fries, 55 chips.
exactly. Wait, let me go first. I'm trying to do something. But I
What do you see? The guy goes up to his window. What's going on up there? He walks up.
oh man, but
Baby,
no,
baby.
Ooh, baby.
Okay, cool. Sorry, continue.
no, it's okay. It's all good. But no, yeah, just the fact that like I feel like every season's gonna like have some kind of scene like that, and I feel like the last episode obviously kind of hit that that intensity of like the kitchen going into the main like lobby was really really great. I agree with Jared. Like fucking Carmi pounding on the door. At some point, I was like, dude, I'm about to fucking bust down this bitch just to beat the shit out of you, because like, god damn, like it was frustrating. But yeah, I for me, I think like Honeydew and Forks were like two of my favorite ones, especially just because they dealt with progression with two I think characters that are incredibly likable, and you want to see them do well. So yeah.
Very, very interesting stuff. Yeah, I lost my train of thought for a second. I'm gonna go with Omelet, Forks. I think those were my two favorites. I do as much as I love Fishes, as incredible as that episode is. I just the in episode 9 having the level of hype I felt when Sid walked out of the kitchen with her full uniform, with her custom chef's coat. It's just really really amazing, really beautiful stuff. Seeing when Richie looks at Sugar and Carmen and is like, for the guy, and I was like, yeah, for the guy,
Yeah, for the guy.
for the guy. And Forks for every reason that we've talked about so far. But yeah, that is The Bear season 2. Thank you guys for doing this, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
No, yeah, thank you. It's become a part of me now. It's my personality trait at this point.
Yeah, I love that this show's signature is just how can we stress out the audience. On TikTok there's
Gotta do it.
exactly. On TikTok there's this interesting thing of some chefs being like, they were like, this show is putting restaurants back 20 years, but I think a lot of the transformations that we saw are like immediately refute that, especially in the second season. So I'm happy it exists. I'm happy we enjoyed it as fans of the first season. And anything you guys want to leave the people with before we head out?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, just go watch it. Like seriously, just go watch it. Like no amount of talking or podcasting or writing or anything like that could ever do it justice. Just go watch it. Yeah, it's honestly, like, I keep on saying this because I feel like us three as creators, we all kind of navigate and kind of get like lost in shows or movies that might be about creation, and I can't help but feel the same way about this one too, where it's like if you are also one of those people that have a passion to create, whether it's food or drawing or filmmaking, writing, whatever, you'll resonate too. So like I feel like, just go out and watch it. It's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, chef. All
Yeah,
right,
chef.
guys. We love you. Goodbye.
Bye.